Hi everyone, and a huge thank you to the IPTF for inviting me to be a part of this year's Income Protection Action Week. It's a real privilege to be here today. Now, I love this week because it puts the spotlight on something that, in my view, should be at the very heart of financial advice, and that's helping people to protect their ability to earn a living. And mindset, which is what I'm going to be talking about today, is the key to unlocking that. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Matthew Chapman, the protection coach. I also happen to co-host the Let's Talk Income Protection podcast, where we shine a light on both the challenges and the incredible opportunities out there right now in the IP space. But let me start with this. After years of coaching advisors, training managers, and sitting in on thousands of client conversations, I can tell you with absolute certainty that the single biggest difference between advisors who absolutely excel when it comes to income protection and those who struggle isn't their knowledge, it isn't their technical skills, and it's not even their sales technique or the scripts. It's their mindset. And I want you to think about this for a moment. Whether you believe that you can or you can't succeed when it comes to recommending income protection, you're probably going to be right either way. Because if you go into conversations thinking this client won't be interested, or this policy is going to be too expensive, or I'll just throw in a short-term plan to keep it affordable, then guess what? You've already set the tone, and the outcome is actually likely to follow your level of belief or lack thereof. On the other hand, if you go in with the mindset that says, I believe in this, I know it's valuable, I know this client needs their income to achieve their goals, then suddenly your confidence, your conviction, and your passion will shine through. And clients pick up on that more than anything else. And that's why I always say mindset is everything. Now let's talk about the problem. So when it comes to income protection in the UK, the majority of policies being sold today are short-term plans. That means cover that pays out for just 1, maybe 2, or in some cases 5 years per claim. Now here's the reality. The average claim in the UK lasts longer than the longest short-term plan on the market. I want you to let that sink in for just a moment. On average, people are off work longer than their policy will even pay them for. So why is that? If we're really honest with ourselves, it's not because clients wake up in the morning thinking, you know what, I really want a policy that's going to stop paying me after 2 years, please. No one thinks like that. Clients don't even know these products exist until we tell them. So if it's not the client driving it, then where's the problem? It's us. It's the advisors. See, the real reason short-term outsells full-term isn't usually down to customer budget. It's the advisor mindset. You see, too many advisors are defaulting to short-term either because it feels easier to pitch or because they want the customer to at least take something, some cover's better than none, right? Or they're assuming the client won't want to pay for full-term cover without even testing that assumption first. Or they're just leading with the cheaper option or offering it up front, hoping that it sticks instead of truly exploring what the client needs. Let's talk very quickly about mindset traps, and let's be very honest with ourselves for just a minute. How many of us are falling into these traps without even realizing it? Let me list a few of them for you. And as I do, I want you to think about whether any of these sound familiar in your own advice conversations. Be very honest with yourselves. Have you ever issued a quote and thought to yourself, God, that's too expensive, or they're never going to pay for that? Or have you ever gone into a meeting already assuming the client isn't going to be interested in income protection? Have you looked at a client with a good job where you think good workplace sick pay is in place and you've thought to yourself, oh, they're not going to need this, instead of actually testing the assumption? Or maybe you've just offered short-term cover up front, not because it's the most appropriate solution, but because you thought it was the quickest way to get an IP sale across the line. Now look, if you're nodding along to any of those, trust me, you are not alone. Most advisors at some point fall into one or more of these traps. I've coached some of the best performers in the industry, and even they would admit to it. You see, the danger is these aren't just harmless little shortcuts. They're proper mindset traps. They exist in your head, but they have very real-world consequences for your clients. Let's take one of the big ones. I call it premium bias. This is where you compare the cost of a policy, the expense of a policy, the premiums of a policy to your own view of what's expensive or affordable for the customer. You think, well, I wouldn't pay that much, or that feels pricey to me. And without meaning to, you then project that onto the client. But here's the truth. You are not your client. Your client may value things completely differently to you. They may be willing to invest in their financial resilience in ways that you never imagined or wouldn't do yourself. Think about it. How many people spend hundreds of pounds a month on things like gym memberships, car finance, or even streaming services? Not because they need them, but because they see the value of them. Yet when it comes to safeguarding their income, the very thing that pays for all of those luxuries, we sometimes hesitate as advisors because we think the premium looks high. You see, when you lead with your own budget assumptions, you're not protecting, you're projecting. And here's the challenge I want to put to you. Next time you find yourself about to say, well, that feels expensive, stop. Ask yourself, expensive compared to what? Expensive compared to losing your income for the rest of your working life? Expensive compared to the cost of giving up your home or your lifestyle? When you start reframing it like that, suddenly the numbers look very different. You see, the bottom line is this. These mindset traps don't just limit your success as an advisor, they limit your clients' outcomes. And that's why we've got to tackle them head on. Now let's talk about value and worth. Let's talk about value versus price, because this is one of the biggest mindset barriers I genuinely see across our profession. Here's an analogy that I love. The cheapest new car that you can currently buy in the UK right now is the Dacia Sandero. It's not a bad car. It starts about £14,700. Now, if cost were the only factor in people's decisions, wouldn't every single one of us be driving a Dacia Sandero? It's brand new, gets you from A to B, it does the job. Why would anyone spend a penny more, right? But look about on the roads. Do you see everyone driving a Dacia Sandero? Of course you don't. You see Audis, BMWs, Range Rovers, Teslas. Why? Because people don't just buy transport, they buy comfort, reliability, safety rating, technology, status symbols, or even just the feel of driving something they actually enjoy. So here's the question. If no one applies a cheapest is best mindset when buying cars, why do we so often apply it ourselves when it comes to protection? It's the same story with houses. If it was purely about cost, every one of us would live in the cheapest house in the cheapest area that met our basic needs. A roof, 4 walls, running water, job done, right? But that's not what happens. People spend more, often significantly more, for things like location, for schools, for safety, proximity to family, or simply because the house feels right. They pay multiples of the minimum price because they see value in those factors, especially when they get a mortgage. Yet, when it comes to protecting that very same home that they value so much, and the income that even allows them to buy it or keeps it possible, how often do advisors then fall back into the mindset of, well, let's keep this as cheap as possible, right? It's almost as if we forget that value matters more than price. And let me tell you this very quickly. Clients will happily invest in better quality if they understand the why. They don't often buy on price alone. They buy on belief, on value, and the difference that it makes to their lives. And in our world, the why is so very clear. It's about financial resilience and financial survival. It's about being able to stay in that home, keep that lifestyle, maintain those choices when life takes a bad turn. So when we strip protection conversations down to cost, when we make it all about price, we do our clients a huge disservice. We reduce something that could be life-saving into just another product on a menu. Our job with the right mindset is to make protection feel as valuable as it truly is. Now, I'm going to talk very quickly now about income dependence, and I want you to think about this for a second because this is a shocking statistic. We spend roughly a third of our lives at work. 1/3. That's decades of our time, energy, and effort, all traded in exchange for income. Now, let me ask you this. How much is that then worth to you? If you could put a price tag on 1/3 of your entire life, what would it be? What would it be? Because here's the thing. Your clients are already putting a price on it. They're selling their time to an employer, a business, or a customer in return for income. That income is the foundation for everything else. It pays for the roof over their head, the car on their driveway, the food on their table, the school trips, the holidays, the little luxuries in life. Everything in their lifestyle is built on the assumption that that income is going to keep flowing. Now imagine just for a moment that income stops tomorrow. No more paycheck coming in. What happens then? The mortgage or the rent still needs paying. Those bills don't disappear. They don't stop even when we do. Kids still need feeding. Schools still need uniforms. Car still needs fuel. Life doesn't pause just because the income does. And that's why mindset matters, because when we recommend a policy that protects income and protects it for life if necessary, we're not just talking about something abstract. We're talking about safeguarding the one thing that underpins every single goal, every single plan, and every single dream that client has. And the irony? The cost of that protection is usually a tiny fraction of the very income it's designed to safeguard. So why do we as advisors sometimes make it all about the price? Why do we recommend policies that run out after 1, 2, or 5 years when the need doesn't run out? And that's mindset, guys. And quite frankly, it needs to change for a lot of us. Now, let's talk about consumer duty and customer goals. And here's the thing. Everything I'm saying today on this recording isn't just my opinion. It's written into our regulation. Consumer duty makes it crystal clear. Firms must deliver good outcomes, including helping clients to achieve their financial objectives. Now, what does that really mean in practice? How do you translate that into normal speak? Well, it means aligning our advice with a client's why. Their goals, their dreams, their life plans. That's no longer optional for advisors. It's now a regulatory expectation. And here's the way I like to frame it. The only way to truly ensure that a client achieves their financial goals is to ensure those goals. Think about it. If a client comes to you with a dream of buying a home or paying for their children's education or retiring early, every single one of those goals depends on one thing and one thing alone, their income. Without it, those plans collapse. So this is not about selling more policies. It's not about pushing products onto people. It's about recognizing that every client has a goal in mind when they come and see you. Sometimes that goal is very obvious. I want to buy a house. I want to get a mortgage. Sometimes it's hidden under the surface. I want my kids to grow up in a secure, stable home with every opportunity that I can afford them. And here's the trap that most advisors often fall into. We make assumptions. We think we know what the client's goal is. We hear them say mortgage and we assume that that's the goal. Client came to me for a mortgage, not for protection. But is it? Of course not. The mortgage is just a means to an end. The real goal is home ownership, a place to live, to raise a family, to build a future, to invest in. And now here's the link. Income protection is what allows that bigger goal to survive when life gets messy, as it so inevitably does. You see, without it, the mortgage payments don't get made. Without the income, the client can't actually borrow. And the client risks losing the very thing that they actually came to you for, which wasn't the mortgage, but home ownership. And when you, as the advisor, draw that line for the client, when you connect to their goal, they really care about the income that then makes it possible. Suddenly, income protection then stops looking like a bolt-on product and it becomes the fundamental foundation, the safety net that keeps their dreams alive. And that's not just a better mindset. That's a more compliant mindset because it's focused on outcomes. It's focused on doing the right thing. And that will inevitably lead to stronger trust, better relationships, happier clients, and stickier protection recommendations. What's not to love, right? So here's the challenge I'm offering you guys. Don't assume that you know the customer's goals. Ask those extra questions. Dig a little deeper. And when you understand what truly motivates them, you will find it so much easier to show them how valuable income protection really is. So let's think about how we frame our advice for a minute. Let's talk about how we frame what we do and how we shift it. Because the way we position income protection in our own minds completely changes the way clients then see it too. So we have to stop thinking like sellers and to start thinking like doctors. Now imagine for a moment that you go to your GP, right? You sit down, you explain your symptoms and the doctor says, well, I've got 3 different versions of this medicine for you. One's strong, one's weak, and one stops working after 2 years. Which one do you fancy? Now, what would you think if the doctor said that to you? You'd probably panic, wouldn't you? You'd wonder if the doctors lost their mind or actually knew what they were bloody doing. You'd feel uncertain and you'd almost definitely lose confidence in them. Because that's not what doctors do, is it? They prescribe what's best after they've assessed the symptoms. Full stop. They act with authority, they act with certainty, and they act with conviction. And that's what gives you the confidence in the prescription they're giving you. They don't expect you to know the right treatment or to choose. They know the right one and they guide you to it. And that's the exact mindset shift that we need as advisors. Your clients don't come to you for a shopping list or a list of options. They don't want to be handed a menu with no clear direction or instruction. They want your conviction. They want to feel like they're in safe hands, that you know what you're doing and that you know what's best to protect them. So they can see that. So here's the question. When you recommend income protection, do you recommend it like a doctor prescribes medicine, with certainty, with authority, and without hesitation? Or do you caveat it? Do you say things like, you don't have to take this one, or it's optional, or we can reduce the benefit, or this is the expensive one, but there's a cheaper version here? Because the moment you do that, you've undermined your own advice. You've made it look like, one, it doesn't really matter, and two, that it's all about price. And here's the mindset shift that I think is so important. You're not just protecting your clients, you're protecting your own advice too. Think about it. If you spent time building a mortgage plan or designing an investment strategy or a pension plan, what happens to that plan if the client's income stops? Collapses overnight. The plan's no longer achievable. Everything that you've worked towards with your client begins to fall apart. So income protection isn't a nice to have. It's not a bolt on. It's the foundation that allows the rest of your advice to continue to stand strong and for clients to execute the very advice you're giving them. And when you start thinking that way, when you recommend income protection with the same conviction that a doctor does when they prescribe medicine, your clients will feel the difference. They'll see you as the expert, not as a seller, and they'll be far more likely to follow your advice. Now, I want to very quickly leave you with some actionable steps. So let's try and make this a bit practical. There's not much point listening to me as a coach talk if you don't have some actionable things that you can start doing straight away. So I'll leave these with you. Number one, run an income stress test with every client you speak to. Don't just ask, do you want to look at some income protection? Ask them to picture what life looks like when their income stops for 6 months, then stretch it. What about 1 year? What about 5 years? What if it never comes back? Ask your clients, is your income guaranteed for the duration of the mortgage term that we're recommending or the pension plan that we're looking at? Because when your clients feel the reality of what losing income means, the conversation changes, especially when it's linked to their goals. You're no longer talking about a policy. You're talking about their lifestyle, their home, their family, and their goals. And once you've made it real, the value of full-term protection becomes blindingly obvious. Number two, stop leading with short-term. Short-term has its place, okay? But let's be honest, too many advisors use it as the easy option. Sometimes they can quickly offer it to get a yes and then move on, right? But I want you to flip that around. Make full-term income protection your default position. Position short-term as the compromise, the fallback, and the last resort, but only if the client's prepared to make compromises. It's not about whether you can convince them to take full-term cover, but whether they can convince you they don't need it. Because if you make short-term the starting point, you'll always sell short-term. And if you make full-term the standard, you would be amazed how many clients step up to it. Number three, challenge your own premium bias. This one's big. We all carry our own baggage around about money. We think this is expensive. We think that's cheap. We think people will or won't pay what we're saying. But here's the truth. Your view and my view is completely irrelevant. Your job isn't to decide whether a premium is too high or not. Your job is to identify the need, explain it clearly, and let the client decide what they value enough to invest in or what they're prepared to compromise. So the next time you catch yourself thinking, they'll never pay that, stop. That's your bias talking, not theirs. Number four, anchor value to their lifestyle. Don't just talk about income in abstract numbers, link it to what it actually does. Say things like, well, this pays for your mortgage, it allows you to refinance in 5 years, it covers your holidays, your gym membership, your school trip, things like that. The things that you see in their budget planner and in the bank statements that you're analysing. Because when clients see that income protection isn't about an insurance policy, but about protecting all the very things they currently spend their money on, that they work hard for and that they love, the conversation becomes far more powerful. Number five, lead with conviction. Recommend it as if they were going to accept it, right? Just like a doctor prescribing medicine, deliver your advice with confidence, without hesitation, with no caveats. Don't apologize for price, because here's the truth. If you don't act like your recommendation is essential, why on earth would your client think it is? And finally, number 6, be more assumptive in a positive, aspirational way. I do not mean pressure clients or push them or back them into a corner. I mean use language that assumes that they see the value because you believe in it yourself. For example, instead of saying, would you like to take this policy then? Say, when we get this cover in place, you'll have the peace of mind knowing your income's safeguarded, your goals are achievable no matter what happens. That's not pushy, it's confident. It shows conviction. It demonstrates that you see protection as the natural, sensible step for anyone who relies on their income, which is pretty much every client you're ever going to meet. Together, those 6 steps are practical, simple, and hopefully they'll transform your protection conversations. They shift you out of selling mode and into expert mode, where protection advice flows naturally and clients feel compelled to act on it. Now, let me leave you with this, if you don't mind. You guys are the last line of defense when it comes to your clients' financial security and their financial resilience. When life goes wrong, when illness strikes, when accidents happen, when income suddenly stops, your advice can be the very thing that keeps a family in a home, keeps a business afloat, or keeps a client's dreams alive. That is no small thing. That is an incredibly noble role. And yet too often advisors forget just how much influence they really have on people's lives. The truth is this: the client will only ever place as much emphasis on protection as you do. If you treat income protection as optional, they'll see it as optional. If you present it as an afterthought, well, they'll treat it as an afterthought. But if you talk about income protection with conviction, if you position it as central to achieving their goals, then trust me, they'll see it as essential too. And here's the real kicker. At the end of the day, clients either need their income for life or they don't. And let's be honest, they probably do, which means our advice should always match that need, full term, for as long as that income is required. Income Protection Action Week is your chance to stop, reflect, and ask yourself, how can I protect more incomes? How can I protect them for longer? How can I use my influence to create better customer outcomes? If you focus on those questions, if you take even one of the mindset shifts we've talked about today and put it into action, you'll not only improve your own results, you'll transform the lives of the clients you serve. So be proud of what you do, believe in it, and act like it matters, because trust me, guys, it does. Thank you so much for tuning in today.